There are various tools required for the recombinant DNA technology. We have already discussed about the restriction enzymes, the vectors, and today we will be discussing about the host organisms. There are certain more things which we need to discuss. It will be the cell culture. How can we make the desired culture of bacterium, or how DNA polymerase is used in order to make the desired culture, and even the activity of ligase. But we will be taking up all these things later on. Today, our main concern is to take into details or to study the details about the host organism. At first, this term competent is very important. Host organisms can be prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Now, what is the meaning of competent? Competent means the ability to take up a foreign DNA, and it is to be induced into the host cells. The host cells can be of different types, they can be prokaryotic or eukaryotic. If we talk about prokaryotic host, it is Escherichia coli or E. coli, which is to be made competent. It means it has to be induced with something so that it becomes capable of taking up the foreign DNA and transforming its own self or its own genome so that it works according to the requirement of the gene product. And what about the eukaryotic host cells? What are those? In case of animal cells, we generally prefer the egg. So, egg is preferred, which is made competent by treating it with various techniques. Plant cells, we always prefer the agrobacterium, and we have already discussed about it. It's two species, and the Ti plasmid, the Ri plasmid, and how do they function. And other than that, the fungal cells, it is a unicellular yeast which is used for making it a competent host. So these all three or four types of organisms, and other than this also neurospora is there. Several other organisms are also used for forming various competent host cells, but these are the most preferred ones. Now, how can we form a competent host? First of all, we are already aware that any cell, suppose we have a cell, this cell has presence of its own genome. The genome is present inside the cell in this condition. Now, if we want some foreign DNA, suppose these all are DNA fragments, we want this foreign DNA to get inside this host cell, and not only get inside the host cell, even get incorporated within the genome of the host cell. How will it take place? First thing is that this DNA is negatively charged, and because it is negatively charged, it is hydrophilic, and the plasma membrane is made up of lipid bilayer. So it is not possible for the plasma membrane to allow the movement of these uh, uh, DNA molecules inside it in normal conditions. So we need to make this plasma membrane permeable first thing, and once it becomes permeable, then only we can incorporate this foreign DNA inside the genome of the host cell. This is the host cell, and once the genome is incorporated and this bacterial cell is capable of forming multiple copies of itself along with this foreign DNA, then only we can say that competency is developed in this bacterial cell. And competency means the ability to contain the foreign DNA and get replicated. So, this is the idea about competent host. How can we make a competent host? Just by using certain techniques in order to transform its DNA. Or I should rather say, allowing the movement of foreign DNA inside the cell. Now, there are various methods by which we can make a cell competent. A very simple method is, first of all, we must remove the outer cell wall of the host cell, and when the entire cell wall is removed, here I have written it is the plasma membrane. It shouldn't be cell should be devoid of cell wall. It should be cell wall. Please change it to be cell wall. Cell wall is removed so that the cell is only exposed along with its protoplast. Now, this protoplast is treated with divalent ions. It can be calcium ions or something else. Now, when the calcium ions, when these cells they are treated with any divalent ion, then the cell's efficiency increases. It means the contraction of the cell increases, or the muscular activity of the cell's outer layers increases, and because of that, any substance which is kept close by is allowed to move inside because of formation of certain pores at the outer walls. And these pores can be created only after keeping this cell devoid of its cell wall in a medium containing the divalent ions, and this entire medium should be kept over ice. And we have to all like continuously give cold and hot shock. At first we will keep it in a cold place, then after we will put the same petri dish over hot surface at around 42 degrees centigrade for some time, and we will be doing this for 3 4 times or even more, so that the permeability of the cell increases and it allows the movement of the foreign particle within the cell. Okay, now why do we want this to happen? First thing is that by exposing the cells to sudden increase in temperature or heat shock, a pressure difference is created. And this pressure difference between the outside and the inside of the cell induces the formation of certain pores. And through these pores, the DNA of the plasmid can move inside the cell and it can get incorporated within the genome of the host cell. And as the host cell divides, the genome of the foreign DNA will also divide, and we can get the gene of our interest. So it is just that you need a cell. And why we are removing the cell wall here, it is important that you remember that we are removing the cell wall. So removal of, once again I'm writing, cell wall is must, because we are taking the yeast cell or we are taking various other cells which have presence of cell wall, even the plant cells. So this is the main idea. Now how do we do it? There are various techniques for the gene transfer, for the process of gene delivery or gene transfer into the host. First is vector mediated, which we have already discussed in previous classes, and in previous video where I have discussed about the agrobacterium. You can just refer to it and try to understand that how in natural condition agrobacterium can be used in order to transmit certain required genes or to it, and it can be formed along with the normal technique or natural method. Now, salient features of this vector mediated gene transfer for agrobacterium is very efficient, but it is limited to a selected group of plants, because agrobacterium is infecting only some of the plants, not all of it. Ineffective method, hence not widely used, because all the plants we cannot use it for all the plants. And that's why we refer to some other methods. That was a vector mediated method. Now we will discuss about vectorless methods. For the vectorless methods, we have electroporation, which is mostly confined to the protoplast that can be regenerated to viable plants. Many cereal crops can be developed with this process. Microprojectile or particle bombardment, which is biolistic method. In this is very successful method used for a wide range of plants and tissues. Risk of gene rearrangement is very high because we are using shotgun in order to make the DNA get incorporated into the genome of the host cell. In the microinjection, this is used for ovum most of the time, so that the sperm can be injected directly in the ovum. So it is very limited use. It has very limited use since only one cell can be microinjected at a time. Technical personnel should be very highly skilled in order to facilitate the process. Liposome fusion, this is widely used, and uh, it is at times confined only to the plant kingdom. Silicon carbide fibers, they are also used, but the fibers are you have to be very careful while handling these fibers. There are certain chemical methods about which we will be discussing: polyethyl glycol or um, diethyl aminoethyl dextran mediated. Now, these two methods are chemical methods, and widely used one is the PEG method, which creates the pore in the plasma membrane of the host cell. And because the pores are created for only short duration of time, so the movement inside the cell occurs, or inside the host cell occurs, and as soon as the movement of the foreign particle inside the host cell has occurred, then the pore is closed. Now, the different methods which we will be discussing will be three methods. These three first three methods, they are similar to sexual, or they are sexual reproduction in bacteria. So we will be using this technique mostly for E. coli and the bacterium. So these three methods are sexual reproduction in bacteria. We will just discuss them in quick way, and then after we'll move on to the rest methods. So first is bacterial conjugation. You all have we all have little idea about this. Conjugation means joining of two bacterial cells together with the help of a conjugation pilus, or it is a conjugation bridge. Now, these two bacterium, both of them, they are not capable of forming the conjugation bridge. This conjugation bridge is only formed by the bacteria which is either F plus, R plus, or VIR plus. Now, what is the meaning of all these? F is fertility factor. Fertility factor means capable of forming the conjugation bridge. R factor means resistance factor. If they are resistant to any of the antibiotic, then they are R plus, and they can transmit this plastid. I'm sorry, it will be plasmid to the cell which is lacking it. And virulence factor also can be transmitted in the similar way. Now, how does the transfer actually takes place? First of all, a conjugation bridge is formed by the bacterium which is F plus, which has fertility plus factor. It is only capable of forming the bridge. Once the bridge is formed, through the bridge, small particle of the or small portion of the plasmid after replication moves on to the next part of the cell or next bacterial cell, and both the plasmid, they become positive, F positive. So here the distinction is between the donor and recipient. Donor is the male who is having a plasmid and is capable of transmitting the, or is capable of forming the conjugation bridge, whereas the female is the one who is recipient, and it takes the plasmid and transforms itself from F negative, which is not capable of forming the protoplasmic bridge, to F positive, where it is capable of forming the fertility, or in capable of forming the conjugation bridge. So the basic idea is the transfer of DNA by the process of conjugation occurs between two sexually different strains of bacteria. Now the strains are different because of presence of plus and minus sign. One acts as a donor, who is a male and has plus sign, and the other acts as a recipient of gene and is negative. So if fertility factor we are talking about, F negative female. Both are haploid, and during the act of conjugation, the genetic material is transferred from the donor to the recipient through a conjugation bridge formed between the two, and it is formed by the male. So I hope it is understood. Next is about the bacterial transformation. The bacterial transformation is a process of horizontal gene transfer by which some bacteria take up foreign genetic material in the form of naked DNA. Think about just naked DNA being present as such, and there is a cell. Now, this cell will somehow allow the movement of these particles inside itself and let it get incorporated into the genome. So once it gets incorporated into the genome, it will become a very much part of the genome, and when the bacterium is dividing, at that time this genetic material along with the bacterium will divide, and we can get the gene of our interest. So this is about bacterial transformation. If we talk about how is it exactly occurring, the transfer of a fraction of DNA extracted, or otherwise it is liberated from the donor bacterium. Here we are getting the DNA fragments as such. Sorry. So we are getting the DNA fragments as such. Please focus on the first transformation with DNA fragments. We have DNA fragments, we have a bacterial chromosome. Somehow, this bacterial chromosome will take up these DNA fragments. And how do it exactly takes up the DNA fragment? One is the recipient, the other one is the donor, and somehow it gets transferred from the donor to the recipient, and this causes the change in the bacterium, or when it is incorporated, when this DNA fragment is incorporated into the genome. You can see two cases are there. One is stable transformation, one is unstable transformation. Stable transformation occurs only when the bacterial or the DNA fragment, foreign DNA fragment, gets incorporated into the bacterial genome. And most of the times, what we see that unsuccessful transformation occurs. And because of unsuccessful transformation, we see that there is no foreign DNA getting incorporated into the genome. So, no change, no required protein formation occurs during this transformation. Second one is the transformation with the help of a plasmid. Plasmid is transmitted into the bacterial chromosome, and if it is taken up by the bacterial cell, and still this bacterial cell must be capable of forming new copies where the plasmid is present. If it is capable of forming new copies where plasmid is present, then well and good, it is a stable transformation which has occurred. Next process is transduction, and we will be studying about transduction after we study the structure of a bacteriophage. This is the structure of a bacteriophage, and bacteriophage, as the name is, phage is a virus. So this bacteriophage is a kind of virus which infects the bacterium. It has various structures. The most important structure is the nucleic acid. The nucleic acid over here is represented by DNA. It can be RNA as well. Either cases, there is presence of this genetic material outside capsid which is made up of protein. Nucleic acid is the DNA or the RNA. Collar cells are over here. In the collar cell there is a pipe which is connecting the genetic material till the base plate. And as a bacterium, or as this bacteriophage gets attached to a bacterium, it injects the DNA or the RNA inside the bacterium by using the injection technique, by just punching the DNA inside it, or at times it gets attached to the receptor molecules of the bacterial cell and injects its DNA inside the bacterial cell and transforms it. If the DNA incorporated, if it is getting incorporated inside the genome of the bacterium, then the transformation is successful. Otherwise it is unsuccessful. Sorry, it is not successful, or is unsuccessful transformation which has occurred. Now, in order to understand this, let's see two cycles of transduction which occurs in the bacterium. One is lytic cycle and another one is lysogenic cycle. In the lytic cycle, it is an active cycle where phage will be attaching. We will look at one. A phage has got attached with the bacterial cell, and it has injected its red colored DNA inside the protoplasm of the bacterium. Now, this genome of the bacterium will be taking up the genome of the phage. That is what has happened. It has been taken up by the phage. DNA circularizes and enters lytic cycle or lysogenic cycle. We will look into lytic cycle at first. So, if it has become circular and has got incorporated into the bacterial cell, then it moves on to the next stage where it is capable of transforming or capturing the, here I should use the term, hijacking the genome of the bacterium and asking the bacterium to form only the head, capsid, collar cells as well as tail along with the DNA of the phage. And that is what is happening. New phage DNA and proteins are synthesized and assembled into virions. What are virions? Virions are active viruses. So active viruses are formed inside the cell, and as they have developed or they have been developed in large quantity, then they burst off the cell and release all the phages which will be infecting the other cells. This is the active cycle and it is the lytic cycle. What about lysogenic cycle? Same from second part we will see. From here you can see that the circular DNA has been formed of the big phage, and it has got incorporated within the DNA of the bacterium. Once it is incorporated, it becomes a prophage. Phage DNA integrates with the bacterial chromosome by recombination between and becoming a prophage. Now, as this bacterium will be dividing, it will be dividing along with the genome of the foreign DNA or foreign phages DNA. So that is what is happening. So all the cells, they will be having presence of the foreign particle of infective virion, but it will be not expressing itself. It will only express when there are two fates of this lysogenic bacterium which is reproducing normally. Either it will during favorable conditions, I should rather say during unfavorable conditions, the disease or the virulence of the bacterium will be visible, and rest of the times we do not see the virulence visible at all. So here it is written, occasionally the prophage may excise, means degrade of its plasmid and become active and follow the same lytic cycle. So there are two things which can occur. Either this lysogenic cycle will be taking place, will be just suppressing the entire bacterial, or I should say viral growth for a certain period of time. As soon as the unfavorable condition arises, again the lytic cycle can be generated. Suppose we all are suffering right now from COVID, but not everyone's body is expressing the genes or expressing the virus, because the virus is present in lysogenic stage. When the virus is getting expressed, it is only getting expressed in case of those individuals who are weak, whose immune system is not very strong, or who are suffering from very um, are suffering from some other diseases because of which their immune system is already degraded. So lysogenic cycle is already going on within us for several bacterium or viruses, but it gets only expressed, the disease is only expressed when the virus has become or is following the lytic cycle. So this is just about the two different cycles taking place in the life cycle of bacterium, or the kind of transformation taking place in the case of, sorry, transduction taking place in the case of bacteriophage which is infecting the bacterium. And this is the process of transduction. You can see a recombination is occurring, a phage is infecting to the donor, all the DNA is getting incorporated inside the bacterium. As soon as the donor bacterial cell and the recipient bacterial cell combine, all the phages are formed. These phages, either they can be present in the recipient cell, or at times they can cause recombinant cell formation. This recombinant cell is the cell of our interest, or it is the competent cell which is required for us. Next technique. Now these were the different techniques naturally which occurs in the area and which can be used in order to make the cell competent. Now these are man-made methods. Electroporation is a physical transfection method that uses an electrical pulse to create temporary pores in the cell membrane through which substances like nucleic acid can pass into the cells. It is a highly efficient strategy for the introduction of foreign nucleic acids into the cell types, into the different cell types for the bacterium or for mammalian. What exactly we are doing? We are taking a cell, we are giving it shock, or here we can say we are treating with some voltage. As soon as we are giving some voltage to the bacterial cell, some pores are developing. In those pores, through those pores, the foreign particles of foreign DNA are getting incorporated. Now as soon as we remove those that electrical field, again the pores close, and if the transformation is successful, then we are capable of forming the new bacterial strain. Next is liposome mediated gene transfer. Liposomes are lipid molecules which are capable of carrying the DNA within itself. And the process by which we are taking up the DNA inside a lipid molecule is known as liposuction. Or if we use a lipid molecule in order to transfer the foreign material inside any other cell, we are using the liposuction method. Now, it is very easy to understand this because a lipid molecule can very easily penetrate inside the plasma membrane. So, if we can somehow introduce the DNA inside a lipid molecule, then the movement or incorporation of this liposome inside the plasma membrane of any cell will be very easy. So, because of this, we are using the liposome. Point number 7, please look into that. The positively charged liposome very efficiently complex with DNA and bind to the cells and transfer DNA very rapidly. Liposuction is a very efficient technique and is used for the transfer of genes to bacterial, animal, and plant cells. You can see over here two things are there. One is a liposome, DNA is there. Somehow we will make the DNA get incorporated inside the liposome. Since it is a lipid molecule, so it can pass through the cell membrane very easily. Once it is endocytosed by the cell membrane, then after this outer blue layer will disrupt. As soon as the outer layer is broken off, the inside lipoplex will be out, or we can think of it as a maturation of the endosome will be occurring, because of which the DNA fragmentation may take place, or at times this endosome will mix up with the lipid and finally the DNA will be incorporated into the cell. So another one technique, like just a simplified version of the same diagram over here. Liposome with the DNA fragment is treated to form a liposome along with DNA. This is incorporated or added inside the cell of our interest where we want to make the transformation. As soon as because it is a lipid molecule, it will very easily penetrate inside the plasma membrane, and the endosome which we have tried to make, or here the liposome which we have tried to make, it is as such that as soon as it enters the plasma membrane, it will get disrupted, and only the inside DNA content will be entering the plasma membrane. So just the fusion of plasma membrane along with liposome results in induction or introduction of the foreign DNA inside the cell. There is direct transfer of DNA as well, possible by two methods. One is microinjection and another one is biolistic. Microinjection, as the name suggests, you can very well see in this diagram. Egg cell is there, a second polar body is released, nucleolus is visible, and it is a female pronucleus, and the male pronucleus is being added to it. How are we adding it? You can see a holding pipette. This holding pipette has a certain kind of pressure. This pressure is only enough in order to, it is a highly sophisticated method, it is very expensive, and this vacuum pump is as such, holding pipette is a vacuum pump which is as such that it just holds the, it creates a pressure which just holds the egg to it. And during the same time we use a micro injection in order to insert the DNA of our interest inside the ovum, and during this time only the fusion will take place, so it has to be done in a very skilled way. So microinjection, it is the DNA transfer by microinjection is generally used for the cultured cells. The technique is also useful for introduction of DNA into the large cells such as the oocytes, egg, and cells of early embryos. The term transfection is used for the transfer of DNA into eukaryotic cells by various physical or chemical means. Physical means, it means just by introduction of electroporation, creation of pores, and chemical means we will be discussing soon. Biolistics is the next method in which we use a shotgun. A gun is there which is coated. Here it is very important that you know that at what exact pressure or force. It is 1400 feet per second. This is the force by which we need to shoot the gun in order to, cause the change, or in order to make the DNA get incorporated inside the nucleus of the transforming cell or transforming host cell. And the size of the DNA must be 1 to 2 micron. This is also very important. We are using tungsten or gold, heavy metals, in order to, we will be actually using these heavy metals so that the movement is quite fast, and the cell is as such is, if it is bombarded with these heavy metals, the introduction of DNA inside the foreign DNA will be quite easy. You can see over here the gene gun method. Gene gun barrel is there. You can see a plate which has presence of gold. DNA is plated or coated with gold particles, and then it is bombarded into the target cells. See the way it is getting bombarded. Some of the cells, they are getting the DNA, whereas the rest cells, they are not getting it. So the cells in which exactly 1400 feet per second speed is being maintained, there will be introduction of the competence, or we can get competences only from those cells. Next method is the chemical method, and it is widely used. In this, we use PEG, which is polyethylene glycol. And because of the introduction of this PEG, the outer cell walls of the protoplast, it starts developing pores because of presence of divalent ions. And because of these divalent ions, the pores are created, and even the naked DNA can enter inside the cell. And because of this, we see that the competent cells or competent host cells can be formed. Our main interest is to form the competent host cells, and we are doing it with the help of polyethylene glycol in presence of divalent ions. And most of the time, this divalent ion which is used is the calcium ions, because these calcium ions, they are capable of making the cell wall permeable. Now, why do we want the biotechnology method to be used? See, a normal healthy individual has a DNA for a particular gene, and with the help of the same DNA, it can form the functional proteins, and or functional expression, I should rather say. But what happens when just one defect is there in the case of certain gene? Suppose it is, say, sickle cell anemia. Just one nucleotide is wrong, and because of that, the protein of our interest is not formed. So what can we do at this time? If we can introduce that one correct nucleotide into this individual and mutate the DNA, then the crosses which are over here, it will be transformed into a healthy individual. So that is the importance, that is the degree of importance for biotechnology, and how important it can be, or it can be a blessing for the mankind. So thank you very much. I hope it was everyone was able to understand what I explained.